everyone. This is Attorney Lilian from Lily Legal, where we help our clients get green cards and citizenships for themselves and their families using the U.S. immigration law system. So today I want to talk to you about the Affidavit of Support. How much do you have to make? How much do you have to have in order to sponsor someone to get a green card? Okay, that's what we will be discussing today. If you have any questions about this or anything else, you can always book a time to talk to me personally by going to my website, lilylegal.com, or by calling my office at 508 443 1788. As always, all my contact information will be in the description to this video. So let's jump in. I had a potential client. Basically, they're ready to file for their spouse, but their only hang up is, I don't think I make enough money, right? People always say that to me. I don't think I make enough money to sponsor someone. How much am I supposed to make? How many people can I sponsor with my income? So today, I am going to be answering that question for you. We are actually going to be looking at the Affidavit of Support page on the USCIS website, because USCIS tells you exactly how much you need to make. And if you do not make enough, they even give you the option of having a co-sponsor. So we'll be talking not just about your income, but potentially having a co-sponsor. Okay. So number one thing is, how much do I need to make? Right? How much do I need to make to file for my family, to file for my spouse, to file for my parents, to file for my children, right? People always have that question. So today, I really want to take the time and answer that and make sure that you know how much you have to make. Because, like I said, USCIS makes it really easy and simple for you to have the answer to this question. So first thing first, you gotta go to the USCIS website. That's the first thing. Okay. You go to the USCIS website and it tells you that there's a different requirement. There's a different requirement for people on active duty military, right? Active duty military and their spouses that are petitioning for their spouse or their children have a different income requirement than everyone else. So if you are active duty military filing for your spouse or your children, well, this first column is for you, right? This right here is all you, right? This is all you. If you are not active military, or you're active military but you're filing for your parents, wow, this is all you. Okay. Now, how do you figure out your household size? Because that's the other thing, right? That's the other thing everyone wants to know. So the first part says sponsors household size. So that's the first thing you need to figure out is, what is your household size? And once you know your household size, then guess what? You'll know how much you need to make. Okay. So your household size is you, your spouse. Okay. If you're filing for your spouse, make sure you're not counting your spouse twice. Okay. Your children, if they live with you, or if you claim them on your tax returns, they are included in your household. Okay. Anyone else that lives in your household that you provide the support for. Anyone that you have ever filed an affidavit of support for that is not yet a U.S. citizen or has not worked the rest of the 40 quarters. That's what I was looking for. The 40 quarters that's required to basically get you off the hook for the affidavit of support. Okay, so those are everyone that's going to be included in your household size. So if it's just you and you are filing for your spouse, you would be a household of 2. If it's you, your spouse, and you're filing for your child, right, 1 child, you'll be a household of 3. If it's you, your spouse, your child, and you have sponsored someone in the past, and they have only had their green card, let's say for a year, they would be included in your household. So now your household is 4. Okay, so whatever your household size is, if you're sponsoring someone that's not your spouse, your children, right, someone outside of that, you are always going to include your immediate household plus the immigrant. Okay, so if it's you and your spouse and you're sponsoring, let's say, your cousin, you're providing an affidavit of support for a cousin, that would be a household of 3. So the number goes up depending on how many people you're sponsoring, have sponsored, or how many children you have in your household and still provide support for. So it's dependent children. Dependent children. So even if you have a 21-year-old child that lives with you, but they provide all their own support, they're not a dependent of yours. So they would not count in the household size when it comes to the affidavit of support. So as you can see, if there's only a household of 2, you only have to make 22,887. 22,887. You have to make above that, right? At or above that. And you have to show that that's your current income. So let's say you made 50,000 last year, but this year you're not working, right? You're out of work. You don't have any current income, right? So again, this is current income. They're looking at your current income. They're looking at your tax returns to see what you made last year, because typically what you make last year would be similar to what you would make this year if you stayed at the same job, right? But if you lost your job and you're not able to make this income anymore, then you would need something called a joint sponsor. You would need someone else that's willing to do an affidavit of support for the person you're filing for. Okay, so just know, even if you don't make enough money, there are other options. Okay, so if you don't make enough money but you have a lot of properties that you own outright, right, you have a lot of money in your bank account, you can also use your assets, right? You can also use your assets to show that you have enough funds to support whoever it is that you're sponsoring. Okay, so using assets is something that's not really super straightforward, right? So let's say you own a property and you have equity in the property of only 10,000. That doesn't cover this. That's not close to the 22,887, right? But let's say you own a property and the equity in it, and you can show this by doing an appraisal of the property and showing your current mortgage. So if you do an appraisal and it shows that the value of the property is 500,000 and the amount that you owe on it is 300,000, that means you have an asset that's worth 200,000 that you can readily be able to pull the money out of if you refinance or something like that. So you can use that to make up for the fact that you're not currently working. Okay, so your assets, your properties, your bank account, your so people also say stocks. Yes, stocks can also serve as an asset because it's something that you can turn into cash quickly. Okay, so that's what they're really looking at when it comes to assets. Is it in a form that you can turn into cash quickly when needed. So if it is, if you have 100,000 in a CD, that's a 10-year CD or something like that, right? That's not readily available. You can't just take it out. There's penalties involved. Okay. A 401k can, because you can borrow against it, but you really want to have a more easily accessible, that's the word, easily accessible funds if you do not have enough income. Okay. Something else people ask is if Social Security income applies to this. And the answer is yes, it's income. They are looking at how much are you bringing in, right? How much are you bringing in every month? How much are you bringing in a year? So if you have Social Security, if you have a pension, and those are monthly payments, you can easily calculate how much, because they give you a statement saying how much you're going to get for the year. That is proof of your income, and Social Security income counts. Okay. Social Security income counts. I know sometimes people are concerned about that and think that because they're retired, they're on a pension, they are getting Social Security payments, that they cannot sponsor someone. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not the case. Even the forms, right? The Affidavit of Support form asks, what is your current employment status? Retired is an option, right? If you say you're retired, they ask, when did you retire? Okay. And then you still have to show what your current income is. If you don't have a current income, Social Security, pension, any of those, then you can also use your assets. And lastly, you can get a joint sponsor, right? You can get a joint sponsor. So, what's a joint sponsor or a co sponsor? That is someone that is either a US citizen or permanent resident that is willing to do an affidavit of support for that family member that you are filing for. Okay, so if your income is not enough, you can either use your assets to make up the difference, or you can get a co sponsor or a joint sponsor. Okay, so a joint sponsor still has to meet these requirements, right? A joint sponsor still has to meet the affidavit of support income requirements. So what I typically see is people will, if they're filing for their spouse, their family, ooh, their siblings may be able to help them with the affidavit of support. But again, keep in mind, whoever is doing the affidavit of support for you has to disclose their household size, and the immigrant, the person that's getting the sponsorship, has to be included in that household size when you are looking at this, right? When you're looking at whether the income is enough. If you're making 100,000 and you have 5 kids and you need to sponsor one person, your income is enough. Okay, because I've gotten that question so many times, you don't even know. Someone, hey, can I sponsor my spouse? I only make 100,000 a year. Is that enough? That is more than enough. Okay, that is more than enough, depending on your household size. Again, if you have like 20 kids that are your dependents, that may be a different conversation. However, if you only have 1 or 2 kids and you're making 100,000 and you are sponsoring someone, as you can see, a family of 8, you only need income of less than 60,000. 58,287. So do not be discouraged. That's the theme for today. Do not be discouraged if you do not have the income. You are able to get a co-sponsor. You are able to use your assets to make up the difference, okay? And again, when you're using your assets, you want liquid assets, right? Assets that can be easily sold. You can easily pull money out of. Those are what you want to use, not things that are locked in for years, that would be difficult for you to liquidate if you need the funds. Okay. Lastly, if you are doing an affidavit of support for someone, I just want, because sometimes people don't understand. People don't understand that it is a contract. It is a contract between you and the US government, saying that if this person needs support, that the US government, or if they try to get government assistance, the US government can come after you for that. So when you're doing an affidavit of support, just be aware of the fact that you are entering into a contract. Even before you sign it, right where you sign, it gives you a whole, legal jargon of what you're actually signing, right? What the contract is that you're entering into. So it is a legal contract that you are entering into when you sign that affidavit of support, for the immigrant. Do the US government actually go after you, to try to recoup the money? I haven't seen it, but that doesn't mean they wouldn't, right? Just because it's not common doesn't mean that they wouldn't. So just be aware of that. But if you're sponsoring someone, just know that that's there. It's a contract, but as long as your income meets the requirements and the person is able to get employment and take care of themselves, that typically doesn't come into play. But again, it is a contract, and I always have to tell people that before they sign. But yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments. I am here to answer your questions. If you're watching this on the replay, hi, welcome. Go ahead and ask me your questions. If you find this video helpful so far, go ahead and hit the like button. Share this video if you know someone that needs to hear this and needs to understand what the affidavit of support is and needs to understand that their income is enough. Okay. I'm just going to share this screen one more time for those of you that are not sure if your income is enough. Look at your household size and then look at this chart. Depending on where your household size falls, remember, you're adding the immigrants, you're adding the person that you're sponsoring to your household size. So if your household size without that person is 4, when you add that person, it will be 5. So you would look at the line that says 5, right? You would look at this line right here, and that's what you're going to use to decide how much you need to make. And if you meet this requirement and you have documentation to show that you meet the requirement, you're good to go. You are good to go. So just know that. All right. Okay, so I see a question, so I'm just going to take this real quick. Can my spouse file for me and my children that are overseas? So it depends. Is your spouse, I'm guessing your spouse is in the US and has either citizenship or is a permanent resident, right? So either way, yes, your spouse can file for you and your children. The affidavit of support, really, again, it's the how many people are you sponsoring at the time, right? So each individual, let's say your spouse is a US citizen and they're sponsoring the individuals. Okay, so more information is coming in. Hold on. So before I answer, which do you advise my spouse file for me first or to file for me and my children together? Me and my spouse in USA and my kids overseas. So your application, so your spouse is a US citizen. the children's application is not dependent on your application. Okay, they are completely independent. Each child gets their own application. You get your own application. Okay, because you're in the US, you most likely may qualify for to just file for a green card in the US. Since the kids are outside of the US, you will have to go through the embassy for them to get their visa to come into the US and get their passport and get their green cards. So there's no there's no benefit in waiting for yours to be approved before filing for the kids. The kids are most likely going to take longer because they're not in the US. So I typically would say if the kids are not in the US, um, the sooner you file for them, the better, because embassies are taking time. Okay. It's taking time to get interviews at the embassies. So you really want to one, if you are not in a current status, you may want to file so that you can get status, right? But if you're trying to decide which one to file first, as far as like timing, which one's going to take longer, the kids are going to take longer because they require multiple government agencies to process their application, while you in the US will only need to deal with USCIS. Right, the children's case will have to go through USCIS and the State Department, right, the embassy in the country where the children are. And if they are, unfortunately, in some African countries, it is taking 2-3 years, right? So you can file them at the same time because they're all independent, right? The kids can get theirs without you, and you can get yours without them. So it doesn't matter if one is approved first. So if the parent is approved first, it doesn't make the kids better, right? It just means the parent's application was approved first. Okay. So definitely you can do your own thing when it comes to that. And then, one more question. Sorry. Okay, let's see. Which state are you in? Okay, I am physically in Massachusetts. However, I do represent clients all over the United States, not just in Massachusetts. So feel free to reach out if you would like some help with the process, because it seems like you and your wife will have a lot on your hands going through this process. So feel free to reach out if you do need the help. Okay. All right. So I don't see any other questions. As I said, if you are watching this on the replay, go ahead and ask me your questions. Like, I enjoy answering your questions. I enjoy making sure that you're actually getting something out of these lives. So go ahead, ask me your questions. Okay. And as always, I want to thank you all so much for taking the time to watch these videos. It really makes me want to make more content for you and just share more of immigration things with you. So thank you so much for joining me today. As always, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me by going to my website, lilylegal.com, or by calling my office at 508-443-1788. And you can schedule a personal consultation with me to talk about your particular case. All right, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for your time. And remember, again, if you like this video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you know someone who needs to hear this, go ahead and share this video with them. And if you are watching in a place where you can subscribe and you have not done so already, go ahead and subscribe so you do not miss any of my uploads. And as always, I am Lilian Chukura. I am the owner and attorney at Lily Legal, where we do immigration law and we do it well. Bye.